Hello guys and gals and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about the rune word death. Death is a very interesting rune word because it has some very interesting uses, and there are certainly some rune words which are much better than it. And we're going to go over this rune word and what this rune word specifically means, what kind of characters it could potentially be used for, and more. But first, we're going to head over to the wiki, and we're going to take a look at the variables on this rune word before we look at how mine rolled. So first thing you'll notice here is that death is a rune word, which is HelElVexOrtGul. So the Vex rune is a little expensive. The Gull rune not so much, and the rest of the runes are fairly cheap. And I will say that as long as you can find a Vex, which is not too difficult, the rune word is actually not that expensive. It is probably on the more expensive side, especially if you consider things like Spirit and Insight, which are relatively cheap. This rune word is obviously going to be more expensive than those. However, I think honestly, with only the Vex required, Vex is literally the only rune in this rune word, which I believe does not drop from the Forge. I think the highest you can get from the Forge is a Mal rune, I want to say. Oh, that's right. The highest you can get from the Forge is the Gull rune. My bad. So Gull being the highest rune that you can possibly get from the Forge makes, honestly, Gull rune not that super expensive. And you can actually take 2 Gull runes and make a Vex rune. So that is actually kind of nice. This rune word is made in swords or axes, so either one. And I think most people choose the Etten axe for this particular rune word because when they're using this rune word, they're not concerned about speed. That's generally the idea with the death rune word. And let's go down and we'll take a look at the statistics on this rune word. And we have some very interesting statistics here. Number 1, we have 100% chance to cast level 44 Chain Lightning when you die, which it's very silly. We also have 25% chance to cast level 18 Glacial Spike on attack. Now, on attack means that it happens every single time you make an attack, not just simply when you connect an attack. So that means you do not have to actually connect the attack to make the Glacial Spike come forth. But it does have to proc, so it is a 25% chance to proc on attack. And that's actually a really high chance. You're going to see 25% proc a lot. However, because it is on attack, there are certain things that it does not work with. Like, for instance, if you use it with Blade Fury, which is what I'm using it for, it will unfortunately not trigger, which is kind of sad, because Blade Fury will only work with on striking and not on attack. We also have Indestructible, which means that you're probably going to want to use this in a ethereal item, and there is some cause for why you would maybe not want to use this in an ethereal item, and we'll go over that later. We also have a huge variable on the damage, and as far as I'm concerned, it is quite large, with an 85% variance. So it is 300 to 385% variable. The recipe is expensive enough that I wouldn't want to roll this multiple times. And thankfully, mine did roll 366%, which was just 14% shy of the cap, which is not bad. We also have a 20% bonus to attack rating, which is going to be very nice if you're any kind of character that needs attack rating. We have a 50 to attack rating raw number, which is always nice to have some raw attack rating. Many times when you are dealing with attack rating, you will have massive amounts of plus percentage, but no actual raw numbers. And believe it or not, if you have some raw attack rating is actually worth a lot more than plus percentage most of the time, because that raw attack rating will be benefiting from all of your plus percentage. So you will literally have plus percentage on your main skill. You will have plus percentage on, like a weapon. You'll have plus percentage on something like fanaticism, or plus percentage on all these different sources. But none of them are actually giving you any raw numbers. And so even just something as simple as like 100 on a ring or 100 on a charm can be a huge bonus to your attack rating. For instance, right now I have a charm on me which is 77 to attack rating, and because of all the plus percentages that I'm running, it's more like 300 or 400 attack rating, which is pretty sweet. We also have adds 1 to 50 lightning damage, which it's because of the runes in there, but it's nice to have a little bit of elemental damage added onto your attacks. We have 7% mana steal, which is always nice to have on any kind of melee or ranged weapon, because it's going to help you keep your mana up and keep you firing your main abilities, which is exactly what you want. We also have 50% chance of crushing blow, which is massive. 50% chance of crushing blow is literally half of the cap, which is 100%, and it's fairly easy to get up to the cap of 100% using something like G-Face, which is 35% crushing blow. So you've got 50 plus 35, which is, what, 85% already, and then you throw in something like Gore Riders, and you're at, what's that, 85, 95, that's 100% right there, right? I'm terrible at math, so let me do a double check on that. So we've got 50% plus 35% plus 15%, and we are at the 100% cap, aren't we? Yeah, 100%. So so I don't even technically need Rattle Cage on anymore, do I? No, I don't. I was actually just thinking about the fact that I'm running Rattle Cage, and I don't know why I'm running Rattle Cage, since I don't technically need it. Interesting. And so now I'm going to take that off. Who needs a Rattle Cage? I was using Rattle Cage for the 25%, but now that I'm running G-Face, and I know I'm doing things in the background and you guys can't see, so you guys are probably getting annoyed with me. I can put on another piece of equipment, which is nice. I was just trying to rearrange my crap real quick here. I'm gonna have to put a different armor on for her, something much mo better. I have a couple ideas. I was thinking about some really high open wounds equipment, because this item does not have open wounds. So keep that in mind. We also have a plus 0.5 per character level Deadly Strike, which is amazing. Deadly Strike is double damage. So not only do we have 50% crushing blow and a massive enhanced damage, and the fact that it's indestructible, and the fact that you can make it an ethereal item, we also have this huge Deadly Strike bonus, which is absolutely amazing. And it can scale all the way up to 49.5% Deadly Strike, which is a lot. And again, if you combine that Deadly Strike with other numbers, like for instance, the G-Face, which also has 15% Deadly Strike, you're looking at, let's just round it up to 50% just for the sake of math. So we've got 50 plus 15, which is 65%, and then we also have another 15% on Gore Riders, so you're looking at 80% Deadly Strike with just the Death, the G-Face, and the Gore Riders. So these three items together will give you a pretty massive amount of damage bonus. You've got 100% crushing blow with these three items. You have 80% deadly strike with these three items. It's absolutely amazing. And the downside to this is that the Etnax has no increased attack speed. You get no increased attack speed on the G-Face, and you've got, obviously, the Gore Riders have no resistances, and a lot of this stuff doesn't have any resistances, and this is one of the downsides to a lot of this equipment. But in my particular use case, I'm running maximum fade, and so I'm not really worried too much about resistances. We also have +1 to light radius, which is interesting, and then we also have Blood Golem charges. Blood Golem is an interesting golem because it's level 22, and Blood Golem returns back to you life when he hits monsters. So let's go take a look at Blood Golem real quick, shall we? And we're gonna see at level 20, Blood Golem. So here we go. We've got Blood Golem is a damage type physical. He will not get any synergy bonuses, unfortunately. So Golem Mastery, Summon Resist, Clay Golem, Iron Golem, Fire Golem. None of these things are things that I'm going to have as an assassin. If you were to cast this on a Necromancer, you could in fact get the synergies, but if you're using it on any other character who is not a necromancer, then you're not going to get any synergies. At level 22, he's not going to be doing very much damage, as you can see here on the chart. We have a rather low damage at level 25 of only 55 to 147, and he is going to be lower than level 25. He's going to be only level 22, so he's going to be somewhere in between this the 20 and 25, and it's not even going to be that much of a difference. We're probably talking about like 48 or like maybe 50 to like 130 is probably how much damage he's going to be hitting for, so not much. He's going to be returning a lot of that life, though. He's going to be returning 138% of that life as your life, so he's going to help keep you alive. His hit points are... Where is his hit points at? They should be listed here as well. He does not have his hit points listed. I know on Necromancer it's a lot easier to see. It's 201 here, but that's not how much hit points he has when he's capped out. And I believe the hit points actually changes in normal, nightmare, and hell difficulty. So we always have to keep that in mind. But he could be moderately useful to help keep you alive. He's not going to do lots of damage. He's not going to be usable if you make an ethereal item, because if you make it an ethereal item, you will not be able to repair the charges. So keep that in mind. If you make this in a regular item, a non-ethereal item, you will be able to repair the charges. So that's kind of up to you, whether you would like to actually use the Blood Golem or not. I did not make this particular item specifically to be used for the Blood Golem, and that's just and that's me. Now, let's go over to my character. This is my Blade Fury Assassin. And my Blade Fury Assassin has no armor now because I stole her armor from her. Let's give her some green armor. Why not? Have a better effect than the other armor that I was wearing earlier. So she runs Fade, which is very specific to her character. And what she's basically doing is she's using Blade Fury, which is a razor blade, these little like shuriken razor blade things that shoot out, and she is gaining the effects of this particular weapon. Now, because this particular ability is not affected by things like increased attack speed or faster cast rate, you can actually utilize this weapon extremely well on this particular character. And there are a lot of characters that have use case scenarios involving this weapon. If your character's ability is not affected by attack speed, if your character's ability is not affected by a faster cast, if your character's ability can use the effects of Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, the attack rating bonus, the attack rating, the damage increase, the Glacial Spike. There are tons of different things that this item could be useful for. Who probably wouldn't use this item? Characters that need increased attack speed. So I probably wouldn't use this item on a Zeal Paladin, for instance. I would probably instead go for something like Breath of the Dying or Grief. Speaking of Grief, Grief does not work on Blade Fury. So very interesting there, because if you were to use this particular weapon, this is actually one of the best weapons that you can use on a Blade Fury assassin. And Blade Fury assassins are very odd creatures. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was talking about odd builds and odd ways that characters, utilize specific items, and the person was talking about how items are trash and how you don't specifically need certain items, and how when you find those specific items you throw them on the ground, and I disagree wholeheartedly, because you might take a look at something like Clay Claw's pincers, and you might think Clay Claw's pincers are the worst gloves in the world, but to a Blade Fury assassin who is utilizing a skill that can affect slows target by and knockback, that slows target by and knockback is invaluable to me. I can fight a monster and I can knock him away from me so that he can't even come close, and it's very, very effective. These particular items have very specific use case scenarios. If you were to look at everything through one particular lens of, hey, is this item good for my character? Then yes, you're going to come across items that are no good for your particular character. And that's just how it works. If I were to look at this particular item, this Etten Axe, I would not want to use this on quite a few characters. Since it has no increased attack speed, I would not want to use this on a shapeshifting druid. Since it has no increased attack speed, I would probably not want to use this on a zeal paladin. Since it has since it is very heavy on the deadly strike, I would probably not want to use this on a character specifically for the deadly strike, because there are characters that do not get any use out of deadly strike. For instance, Smiters cannot use Deadly Strike. It has absolutely no effect for them. Vengeance Paladins cannot use Deadly Strike. It has no effect for them. You know, each individual skill and ability in the game has various use case scenarios, and you have to look up those abilities and figure out what your items are going to work best for. And so that's kind of the Death rune word's case, is that Death is a very interesting rune word, and it has some very interesting use case scenarios, but they are not all the same. The kick assassins can actually get fairly good use out of this because it is very high damage. It has the glacial spike on attack, which I believe works for kick. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Let me just double check. So yes, kicks do work with chance on attack. So this would work really good for a kick assassin. Glacial Spike, by the way, is an AoE attack. So basically what it does is it fires a projectile. The projectile will hit the target. It bursts into a cloud of ice. The cloud of ice then will hit the target and will do a kind of freezing effect on all the targets within that cloud. And I'd like to see if I could get it to work, but the damage on this weapon actually is very, very nice, and it pretty much just murders most of them, even when I'm just regular attacking them. So there was the Glacial Spike, and as you can see, it bursts out into a little cloud there. There's really not much more to say about it other than that. These monsters are all immune to cold. I need something that is immune to not cold. To not cold. Yes, please, not cold. Here we go. Here's some fire immunes. This will work just fine. So as you can see there, they froze. So when the Glacial Spike hit them, everything that was in the radius froze solid for a few seconds. Unfortunately, because of diminishing effects for freezes when it comes to Glacial Spike and other freezing effects, monsters in Hell difficulty tend to have things like half freeze duration and stuff like that, which will affect the duration. But just really quickly, let's go back over to the website, and we're going to take a look at Glacial Spike's duration for a level 18 Glacial Spike attack. I actually forgot to do that. So I'll pull the website back up here. And as you can see on the website, we have or the wiki, we have a 18.5 mana cost, doesn't matter for us, 216 to 234 cold damage, which is not like an amazing amount, but with a 25% chance to cast, you're going to see it a lot. And since it is on attack and not on striking, it's going to proc more than you think. So the difference between on attack and on procking is that on attack, it's going to happen every single time you have a chance to... Every single time you attack, you have a chance, right? So it doesn't matter whether you hit or not. However, since the other way is on striking, if you don't hit, there's no chance for it to proc. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the difference between the two. And then also, some abilities do not work with chance on attack. So, for instance, my Blade Fury, rather unfortunately, does not work with on attack. It only works with on striking abilities. So I have to think about that when I'm choosing my items for procs. And the freeze length is 4 seconds. Now, unfortunately, in Hell difficulty, there is, like I said, a lot of negative duration for things like that, like half freeze duration. I think pretty much all monsters in Hell difficulty just about have half freeze duration, and this, of course, will not work on cold immunes. So keep that in mind also. So you're probably looking at about 1 to 2 seconds for each monster that it's going to freeze. It will also shatter monsters, so keep this in mind as well. So if you kill a monster and the glacial spike is up, the monster will shatter into a million trillion pieces, which is bad for certain characters like necromancers. If you were a necromancer and for some reason you were using this item and you needed corpse explosions and things like that, you probably wouldn't want to have it on. Maybe it's a good thing, since I'm assassin, that it doesn't work, because that way, if I want to use Death Sentry later on, which is corpse explosions, I won't be ruining my own corpses. Just an interesting thought there. Well, the Death Rune word is certainly an interesting one, and with the negative 20% requirements from the Hell Rune, which I don't believe I talked about when I was reading off the items. I think I skipped over it. The negative 20% requirements is nice because it means that whatever item you're going to put it in, you're going to get a little bit less strength, a little bit less dex requirements. Now, if you are a really strong melee character, you're probably not going to have any issue with strength or dex anyway. But if you were using this on a character that's not a character who's going to build strength and dex, you could get some nice use case scenario out of the negative 20% requirements. I'm trying to think why a character would use this that's not a melee or ranged character. Right off the top of my head, I can't think of one. I feel like there's a lot better options out there for like non-melee characters, especially ones that have ITD. So like if you were a character who does not have any form of like attack rating bonuses or things like that, having very specifically a weapon that has ITD on it would be very useful to you. But this one does not. It does have 50% crushing blow, which is nice, and I suppose there could be some arguments for making it for characters who just need crushing blow, and so perhaps you would make it a lower, crappier weapon just simply to get that 50% crushing blow. Along with the 50% deadly strike. So if you were using it for some odd use case scenario where the only thing you really needed was the crushing blow and the deadly strike, then perhaps this could be the weapon for you. I'm not exactly sure what characters would need just crushing blow and deadly strike. And black, which is another rune word, also has crushing blow on it. And if crushing blow was your main thing you were worried about, that could come in handy. Although it just occurred to me that although smiters would probably prefer black because it has a cheaper rune word base, smiting does take its durability from the weapon. And because this is indestructible, if you were to put this in a phase blade, because it does work in a sword, sword is one of the options for this, you could theoretically make death in a phase blade for the 50% crushing blow. You would get the blood golem, which could be actually useful to help keep you alive, and you could use it for smiting, specifically for that 50% crushing blow. And the really interesting thing about it is that no matter how much you smite, no matter how long you smite, it's not going to break because it is indestructible. Of course, if you made it in a phase blade, it would be indestructible as well. So, but you can't make black in a phase blade, though, and that's the thing. So we're looking at some interesting choices here, especially if you were some sort of really odd low strength smiter or something. I feel like you could make this in just like the lowest quality possible item just for the sake of just getting the effect, or maybe just for the blood golem and the crushing blow. I don't know. It's odd, and it's fun to think about things like this. And if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I love to think about odd builds and odd rune word capabilities, and this is definitely a rune word that has sparked a lot of interest in me. Anyway, I've prattled on for quite some time, and I will end it here. So as always, thank you for watching my videos, and keep watching.